when I the recent thing with Kyle Kinane. I don't know if you heard about it.
I did Google you.
Okay.
So go ahead and can you tell me? I know you've talked about it a couple places. I saw the first 3 hits were talking about Picante salsa.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened. So if you're feeling like, oh, everyone's heard this, not everyone reads the blogs we do.
Here's how I can condense it.
You're already a helicopter storyteller.
I will condense.
You're just gonna go. I pranked Kyle.
Yeah. Me and Kyle aren't talking anymore.
Wait, did he get mad?
No, he was a little bit bummed for a while, and I was really wanting to make sure things were cool, but we're fine. We're totally cool.
Tell me what happened.
So what happened was, Kyle woke up one day and had noticed that 2 very old tweets about Pace Picante, 10-month-old tweets, had been favorited by the Pace Picante on Twitter, and he was like, "Why? That's so weird." So
why did he know that had happened? That's interesting.
Because he probably got an email. Sometimes you get an email. So it has enough followers, you get an email saying that this person liked it or whatever. So he screen grabbed the photo of his 2 tweets that showed that Pace Picante had favorited them and posted that screen grab and said, "You're doing it all wrong, Pace." And then Pace favorited that tweet, and then he screen grabbed that, and then he said, "Let me try something," and then he wrote something outlandish and negative about Pace Picante, and then they favorited that. And then he wrote another negative thing about Pace Picante, and they favorited that. And he was like, Pace Picante, you really need humans running your Twitter account. And then throughout this, every person that favorited any of those tweets that he was doing or commented or retweeted, Pace Picante then followed and favorited their tweets about Pace. And everyone was losing their minds because they're like...
This is a good one.
So Pace Picante was like this weird lurking monster that wouldn't say anything but would force emails upon you by favoriting and following, and everyone was getting scared and weirded out by it. And Kyle just started unleashing these tweets about Pace Picante worships Lucifer, Pace Picante, this and that. And then at a certain point, once everyone had gathered to notice, because every time Pace followed someone else, they reached out to Kyle and said, "Pace just followed me." And then it was like this thing. And then finally Pace stopped doing that.
Pace
tweeted an apology saying, "We just experienced a technical glitch. We apologize." And then direct messaged Kyle saying, "We would really appreciate it if you deleted those tweets, and thank you in advance." Kyle responded with...
So Kyle was following Pace Picante.
He started following at a
so he
certain
could
point.
then message them.
Yeah. Well, Pace Picante messaged Kyle. Yeah.
But he had to...
Yeah, so he followed Pace Picante during this. And then Pace Picante sent him a direct message asking him to delete them. And then he responded with, "Well, how about some free salsa," basically. And then he screen grabbed that direct message conversation and tweeted it.
How about some free
salsa? And then Pace Picante said, "Well, I can definitely see what we can do. What's your address?" And then he said, "Well, this seems sketchy. How about we meet somewhere in Texas?" And then was screen grabbing all of this stuff and posting it. And then Pace Picante said,
"Stop saying Pace Picante. Stop saying Pace Picante."
I'll at Pace?
No, it's good.
Okay.
Keep saying Pace Picante. I just want you to know that every time you say it, it's funny.
And then Pace Picante says... "Listen, our lawyers have just informed me that we shouldn't send you anything and that bribery with salsa is still bribery." And then Kyle, I'm not sure what the back and forth was at that certain moment. Basically, this guy, Eric, who worked for Pace, was talking to Kyle.
Basically.
He was signing his name Eric after each thing he said. And then... eventually, he got nowhere with Kyle, so he handed it off to Miles, which is a different person that worked for Pace. Miles then says, basically offers him salsa again. And then Kyle says, "Bribery for salsa is still bribery." And then is like, Pace, he's copying these direct messages and showing them on his Twitter. And everyone starts following this interaction between a company and a comedian. Eventually, Miles... loses his cool a little bit and says some rude things to Kyle. And then Sharon has to step in and sends Miles home. And Kyle's like, what happened to Miles? I want to talk to Miles. Miles has been sent home. And then he says, I want to talk to Eric then. And then quickly says, hey, this is, Miles went home. Sharon said you wanted to talk to me. Eric, but then spelled Eric wrong. And then quickly spelled it right. And then he was like, yeah, right, Sharon. Sharon was lying as Eric. And then, so a lot of things like this are happening, and he's posting all of them on his Twitter.
This is like the weird soap opera book we read in Spanish class.
Yeah. Eventually, the real Eric shows back up, handles it, and says, Miles has been sent home, don't worry about him. But then really quickly in the same direct message, in all caps, Miles has signed on to the Pace Twitter from home, and in all caps says, they're going to fire me tomorrow, but they can't fire me. I quit. Fuck you. And then Eric says, Miles, you're not fired. Let's talk tomorrow. I'm changing the password.
These are all going to Kyle?
These are all going just to Kyle. And then Kyle's showing all of them, and then says Miles was sent home, and also all of us are about to go home. So we'll talk about this tomorrow. An hour later, Miles goes at home, creates his own Twitter account, and reaches out to Kyle. And Kyle says, Miles, I don't believe this is really Miles. Show me a picture of your pay stub. Miles sends him a picture of his middle finger and says, how's this? Like, I'm done proving myself. Direct deposit, none of your business. I quit. And then Miles hacks into the Pace Picante site and says, they changed their password, but back to what it used to be. Direct deposit, not going down quietly. I quit.
Those are the hashtags?
Yeah. To prove to Kyle that it's the real Miles. And then he says, hey, Kyle, watch this. And then from Pace Picante writes, Kyle Kinane sucks, as Pace Picante. Those are quickly deleted by Pace Picante. Miles says, stop saying Pace Picante. Miles says, okay, they changed the password again. This time I don't know it. If I wasn't fired before, I definitely am now. Kyle starts direct messaging Miles being like, dude, I thought this was... At this point, Kyle thought it was a viral marketing thing. They took a bad situation and tried to make it interesting.
Yes.
But then he's like, oh no, I thought you guys were all in on this. Did you really just quit? And Miles says, I've been going through a rough patch. I was probably going to get fired anyways. And then Miles's account is suspended. And then he directs Pace Picante, and Pace Picante says, we're still looking into this, because he's like, this is getting out of hand. And he's like, we're looking into this. It seems like someone within the company created a fake Twitter account for Miles to try to get him fired. And that the real Miles is very apologetic and wants his job back. And so then he's like, Pace says, we're going to make an announcement really soon. And then Pace tweets, a couple apologies, and then says, if you're following our situation, Miles was sent home. He's not fired. And up to this point, Pace Picante hadn't tweeted really at all. Everything was through Kyle showing this conversation.
Yeah.
And then Kyle says, or Pace Picante tweets, Miles, we love Miles, and someone within the company has created a fake Twitter account pretending to be Miles to get him fired, and we're going to deal with her eventually.
Oh, it's a her.
Oh, it's Sharon. Sharon's already proven herself to be a liar. And then says, we appreciate everyone. We told Miles, because Kyle started a hashtag Bring Back Miles, and it got a lot of traction.
Typical Miles.
And
it did?
Yeah. Danny Trejo and like John McCain's daughter and Red Vines, the company Red Vines created like a Vine where it was like stop animation of Bring Back Miles in Red Vines.
No.
And like everyone was talking about it.
Why is that the part that impressed me the most?
Well, I just thought it was funny that someone would spend their time to do that.
It did. Bring back Miles.
And then says, we told Miles, Miles is in tears right now over the whole thing. And he still has a job with Pace. And in the meantime, we're going to delete our Twitter account until we can figure all this out. Signed Eric. And everyone was just like, well said, Eric. And then everyone kept piling in. And then at midnight, the account was deleted. And then, so the backstory is I created a Pace Picante Twitter account 4 months ago, not to prank Kyle, but I just created it. I created a handful of company Twitter accounts just to see how long I could run them as if they were real.
Yeah.
Until the real company was like, companies that didn't have Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
So Pace Picante is owned by Campbell's, which is a larger company that doesn't bother. No one has the word Pace on their shirt anymore, And so it lasted 4 months, and every couple of weeks.
Well, a lot of people that go to Pace University.
Is that a university?
It is.
Okay. And just fans of the salsa probably have made their own shirts at home. But yeah, so every couple of weeks,
it was you.
It was me. I would sign into this account and I would tweet things that Pace would tweet. I would retweet.
That's what makes it a long con. Is you would just positive Pace tweets,
favoriting things, retweeting things, reaching out to people, telling them thank you. Asking people to show me a picture of their favorite recipes
using Pace
as Pace Picante. Created, and
I mean the recipes included.
Oh yes, yes. Just giving suggestions to people about what they could do. Like the most recent tweet was, add a scoop of Pace to any soup or stew to spice things up. # you're welcome, and little things that a company would do. But it was only because I wanted to see how long I could do it until someone in an until someone in an office was like, "Hey, who runs our Twitter? I have a question." I wanted them to believe that they were running it and spend a whole day emailing each other to only find out that no one does. And then I wanted to have someone contact me and be like, "Will you please delete this?" And have me be in a position to be like, "Why?" And then be like, "Okay, I'm sorry."
Right.
I didn't want to cause them any trouble.
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny. 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 I just thought that was funny.